Heidi is in our community called Scalers, and she asked a really good question. So Heidi, I wanted to make this video actually for you, answering your question. So you watched one of our classes, one of our master classes on YouTube on SGE, which is Google's AI coming to search, the search generative experience. And you noticed, you picked up on the importance of that extra E in EAT, which Google added in December of 2022. And what that extra E means is experience. And I believe this is how Google foresaw the future with a ton of content that had no real experience in it, written by the robots hitting SERPs. And Google is now getting ahead of that onslaught of content, and they're figuring out what to rank with that magic little letter E for experience. So if your experience is in your content, it will continue to rank. And I'm seeing this firsthand because I'm using Content at Scale to write all of my blog content at Content Hacker and at Content at Scale, our own blog there, which has around 80 posts per month. So that is 90% written by our own AI, 10% humanly edited, sometimes 20, sometimes the ratio is 80-20. But in the end, we're using AI, I'm using AI, and then I'm adding in the personal experience. So you asked a really good question. You are in a tough niche, a very specific niche, the fashion industry. And the person writing your content has to know about certain types of stitches, for example. And you can't just guess that, right? That's going to come down to experience. So what I would suggest for you is pretty much doing the same thing I've done that's been very successful. So my approach is I went and found an SEO marketing person. Preferably that person enjoyed writing. So you have to kind of have those two things. Number one, some relevant experience, a few years, ideally 2 to 3, in the fashion industry. And number two, if they could, they would write all day. If you can find that person, that is your long-term AIO writer. So Alyssa, now our head of content at Content at Scale, is my AIO writer. I found her around 8 years ago on Upwork at a very low rate, which we shall not mention. She's worth 10 to 20 times that now. And I've been working with her for 8 years. And what I was able to do over the years was to basically share my brain with her. She got to understand my process, my thinking, my points of view, the controversy of my perspectives on SEO and content, and then she got to know content at a very deep level. So what she was able to bring was that E for experience, and you see it reflected in the Content Hacker blog and now the Content at Scale blog because I've brought her there. So if you can find this person and pair them up with you and work with them on a think forever, like long-term basis, number one, you give that person a steady gig. Don't underestimate the power of that, right? Alyssa did not have steady work. She was on Upwork in between jobs. I offered her steady weekly work. And little did we know, here we are 8-9 years later, it's working together, and it's a charm. It's working like a charm. So number one, you need to find somebody that has that relevant fashion experience. It could be somebody you work with. It could be somebody, here's the thing, if you can find somebody that's burnt out in the fashion industry, like, are you tired of showing up, doing client work? Find the thing that is typically the hardest, or the thing that wears that creative fashion person out. And then what you're going to do is kind of frame a job post around that. Are you tired of working with, and you're going to know this, Heidi, you're in this industry, you know what is the most irksome thing about this industry. Is it talking with clients? Is it interfacing with designers? Is it stringing along a project? Are you tired of project mayhem? Do you want to escape that world while still living in it? Well, I am looking for a full-time writer who can run my AI machine and add in that personal experience. Work with me directly, get to know me and my style, my personal perspective on things, and weave that into our blog and then name your domain. So that's what I would do. I would put out a job for a fashion designer, someone that's relevant 100% to what you do, and then I would add on writer at the end. So you could do fashion designer writer or fashion design writer. And you're going to look for somebody that number one has that experience, and number two is tired of doing the thing Like, for example, Alyssa doesn't want to do consulting, doesn't want to deal with clients. She hates going live, right? So all of those things were my selling point to bring her in as a writer. And now, thank the Lord, I have her, right? Because she's been with me for 8 years and she's my right-hand woman. So that's what I want for you with your AIO writer. And this is how I would approach it. So you're spot on with your thinking. I need to go get real experience in this, and I need to make that my writer. So do that, and then add on writer at the end, and look for somebody that's honestly burnt out at doing the thing that they're doing so well. And they don't want to deal with clients, and they just want to work behind the scenes and get to know you. That is a big plus. You run a business. You can position yourself as a mentor to this person, as a friend. That's what I've done with my writer. That has worked out really well. And then just take care of them. You know, kindness goes such a long way. Like, it is extremely, extremely underrated, the value of just being kind to that person that will eventually bring you incredible value, the same way my writer has done for me. So experience first, add on writer, and go after it. You're going to find that person. Be prepared. This will take a little bit longer than just finding a writer or an editor, but you will find your person. You will. Just keep going and keep looking for them, and don't settle until you have that gut feeling. Oh my gosh, this person would be amazing. When you have that gut feeling, you're usually right. Okay, so I hope that helped. I'd love to answer more questions if you have them, so drop them in our thread and I'll make a video just like this for you next time. Thanks again. This was such a good question.